Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. India to conduct security drills across border districts of Gujarat, Punjab, Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. It comes after India launched Operation Sindoor, which targeted terror hideouts in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. President Volodymyr Zelensky and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz have reached new agreements on defense sector investments during their meeting in Berlin. Details of the agreement have not yet been disclosed. Cambodian soldier dies in a rare border clash with Thai troops near Thailand's Ubon Ratchathani province. The Thai army says that the exchange of fire lasted nearly 10 minutes before the Cambodians requested a ceasefire. At least 10 people killed and 43 others injured as powerful thunderstorms triggered flash floods and landslides in central and northern Pakistan, with authorities warning that stormy weather will persist through Saturday. And Saudi Arabia confirms that this year's Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca will begin on the 4th of June, after a crescent moon was sighted marking the start of the Islamic lunar month. Over 1 million people from around the world have already arrived for the pilgrimage. Hello and welcome. We begin with South Africa. While South Africa's ties with the US remain strained on several fronts, a Starlink-related policy move is now stirring domestic debate. Reports suggest South Africa may be planning a major policy shift. A special exemption from the local Black Economic Empowerment, or BEE, rules could be granted to companies like Elon Musk Starlink. Now, this change would allow foreign companies to operate in South Africa without having to give up local ownership stakes. Last week, Communications Minister Solly Malatsi proposed the policy amendment. He's a member of the Democratic Alliance, the second largest party in South Africa's coalition government, and a known advocate for white minority rights. The directive came just 2 days after President Cyril Ramaphosa met with US President Donald Trump in Washington to try to mend relations between the two countries. Relations are strained in part by Trump's false white genocide allegations in South Africa, claims that have been amplified by Elon Musk. Musk was also present at the Oval Office meeting. However, the proposal has triggered a strong backlash in South Africa. Many lawmakers have slammed the move, saying it benefits foreign billionaires and undermines decades of laws designed to fix apartheid-era inequality. Ramaphosa's ANC, the largest party in the governing coalition, has also opposed the plan. In response, the Communications Minister has now denied that his plan is to water down the BEE rules just for Starlink. Now, before we get into his explanation, here's a quick look at what BEE actually is. The laws were introduced in the early 2000s to fix apartheid-era economic inequality. They are designed to boost black ownership, employment and skills. Companies must have at least 30% black ownership to win government contracts or to operate in regulated sectors like telecoms. Foreign companies too need to comply with these local laws. Now, the Communication Minister proposes that instead of giving up ownership, companies could invest in digital infrastructure like satellites or rural internet access, support black-owned small businesses, or fund local skills training. Now, this is known as an equity equivalent option. The minister insists the plan is not a loophole for Elon Musk, but critics are questioning the timing. Elon Musk, who was born in South Africa, has called the country's black ownership laws racist. He claims Starlink was denied a license because he is not black, and South African officials have denied that allegation. Musk is also believed to be influencing Trump's white genocide claims. He has repeatedly made the claims on his social media platform X without any evidence. While the heat from the Oval Office meeting still lingers, the Starlink controversy raises more questions. How will this row unfold, and what does it signal about broader US-South Africa tensions? To discuss this, we have with us Ayanda Sishiwigzil, political commentator and journalist who is joining us live from Johannesburg. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Alyson, and thank you to all of the Firstpost listeners as well.
Ayanda, what are the potential long-term implications of allowing infrastructure investment to substitute equity ownership in meeting the BEE requirements, particularly in the high-value telecom sector?
It'll be detrimental to our economy in general. We already know that transformation in South Africa is a long and slow process, and we need to have these triple BEE laws in order for transformation to happen in every single sector. Currently, as it stands right now in the ICT sector, there isn't black ownership in this country when it comes to the ICT sector. So if we are going to be bending our rules and circumventing our laws that are put in place through our constitution, through the people who voted in this constitution in this country, we make it easier for transnational companies to come in and not follow the letter of our law. It will open up the floodgates to make sure that other transactional companies in different industries also can do the same. In industries such as mining, we can see that a majority of the mining companies in this country actually abide by the triple BEE laws to make sure that there is 30% ownership and shareholders on their company boards, and they are making decisions. But we can clearly see that transformation, even in the mining industry, is exceptionally slow because a lot of the owners and the company shareholders are majority white. There are none of those changes. And so if we circumvent these laws and we actually bend out and we remove policy in order to make it easy for companies to not follow triple BEE laws, then we'll be shooting ourselves in the foot, because then that means that transformation cannot take place in the country that has been deemed the most unequal in the world, according to the World Bank.
Right. And how might these proposed changes affect the participation and the economic advancement of historically disadvantaged South Africans in sectors typically dominated by global tech firms like Starlink?
It'll make participation even worse. What we are going to see is young entrepreneurs be discouraged from entering into these spaces because there'll be much more gatekeeping. The gatekeeping from those who have already been in power, those who have the historical and the historical knowledge and also the privilege that was afforded to them by their apartheid government and before then, in order for them to build that historical and generational wealth. As Black people, we're not given that opportunity to build that historical and generational wealth. The building blocks for us was just simply not there, which is the reason why it is that we have these triple BEE laws in the first place, to make sure that the Black child will be able to see themselves in the same industries that were once held out that were once gatekept from us. And so these triple BEE laws are incredibly important in making sure that young people and just people in general have that gateway into these industries that were once closed off from us. But what we are seeing is a concerted effort to circumvent our constitution to make sure that transnational companies can come and infiltrate our economy without abiding by our laws. We've seen it happen in Eswatini. We've seen it happen in Lesotho with the infiltration of Starlink in these companies. What happened in Lesotho before Starlink came into the picture? They were slapped with the 25% exports tariff. And so what we're going to be seeing now is a lot of strong arming from the likes of companies such as Elon Musk, because they noticed that Africa is actually an emerging market. And now they're realizing that because our population is growing and there are more and more young people and there's more technological advances, they want to take advantage of that, which is all well and good and true. But please make sure that you come in and actually follow our laws and work with us, not try to change our constitution in order to infiltrate the right-wing politics, in order to change the constitution to only favor those who are in power. It's honestly unconscionable what's going on.
Right. And given the communication minister's denial that the changes are specifically tailored for Starlink, how can the government ensure transparency and fairness in applying the revised rules across the telecoms industry?
I do not even think that these revised rules and these policies that have been gazetted by the Minister of Communication and Digital Technology will be able to stand against the courts of law because of our triple BEE laws, which will obviously circumvent the policy directives that he is imposing on ICASA. So even that alone means that we shouldn't even be considering this as a government. But sure, let's play that devil's advocate. What he will need to do is he needs to have public participation, which means that he needs to go around the country and have public buy-in as to whether or not this policy will be working for us. After that, he needs to go to the National Council of Provinces, convince them that this is within the bounds of the law as well. And so the transparency in this gazette is also something that needs to be questioned, because there was no public participation in this policy directive. The NCOP was not informed. In fact, even the Portfolio Committee of Parliament themselves, which is the reason why the Minister of of Communications and Digital Technologies was summoned to Parliament in order to explain this, because there was no parliamentary process that was taking place. It was simply a directive, a policy directive. Mind you, a policy directive that has a direct implication on hundreds and thousands of people having access to the internet and not having access to the internet. I also wanted to highlight the fact that there are over 100 companies that are currently still waiting to have licensing from ICASA. And so the reason why I mention this is because these companies are actually aligned with the triple BEE laws that we have. They have about 30% ownership within their different companies. So why is it that these companies are not being considered under this and who follow the triple BEE laws? Why should we bring onto our shores a company that is not willing to follow the laws? And mind you, the owner is also spreading misinformation and disinformation about this country, which has direct implications on our economy and the ways in which we are living our lives currently as it stands. I think that the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies was wholly out of line for making this policy directive. I think that he should have informed not only just his political party, but the GNU partners that he has in the form of the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance, that Mzansi, all those people who have formed parts of the GNU, so that we can get a better explanation as to, is this a GNU view or is this a view of the Democratic Alliance? Because currently, as it stands in the court of law, I know for a fact that this policy will not be able to hold up in the court of law when it comes to the triple BEE laws and also the transformation that is meant to take place in this country. They've just got to be more transparent with people.
Right. And as always, great to have you on the show. Thank you for sharing your views and insights there.
Thank you very much, Alyson.
In the days since the India-Pakistan truce, New Delhi has been intensifying its global outreach against terrorism. It has been engaging with global powers to reaffirm its stance. Yesterday, an all-party delegation led by Indian lawmaker Supriya Sule landed in South Africa with the same mission. Some other prominent politicians part of this team included Rajiv Pratap Rudy, Vikramjit Singh Sani, Manish Tiwari, Anurag Singh Thakur. And after landing, the group received a rousing welcome. The team is on a 4-nation tour to convey New Delhi's zero tolerance towards cross-border terrorism. Before this, they were in Qatar, and South Africa marks the second leg of their trip. Now, India's High Commissioner to South Africa, Shri Prabhat Kumar, has briefed the Indian delegation about various aspects of India-South Africa relations. In Johannesburg, Sule and others interacted with the Indian diaspora and delivered a power message that the Pakistan-orchestrated terror attack in Pahalgam has shaken the conscience of Indians worldwide. She added that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's peace initiative in 2014, when he invited regional leaders to his oath ceremony, was meant to foster peace and regional unity. But the massacre in Pahalgam has proved India's outreach hasn't been respected. Now, Supriya Sule has...
We invited every neighbor from your side because we wanted to send a message that we want the continent to be peaceful and happy, and we want to grow together. But unfortunately, with the Pahalgam incident, it hasn't happened. Shaken each Indian everywhere in the world.
Now, Member of Parliament Supriya Sule has also stressed Operation Sindoor was meant to send a global message. She said that the world must know that India stands for peace, but not at the cost of innocent lives. Ruling BJP MP Anurag Thakur spoke about the delay in action from Pakistan. He said that after 15 days of silence, India responded strongly, targeting 9 Pakistani terrorist sites.
आज हमें आजादी चाहिए आतंकवाद से, लगाम लगानी है आतंकवाद पर, और ये जो पाकिस्तान ने पहलगाम में किया है उसका दुनिया भर में जितना चेहरा बेनकाब किया जाए कि पाकिस्तान की धरती आतंकवाद को जन्म देती है, पालती पोसती है और उसको फिर दुनिया भर में एक्सपोर्ट करके ये काम करती है.
Thakur highlighted Pakistan's track record and said that Pakistan is the only country in the world which has 52 entities linked to terror, and all of them are listed by the United Nations. MP Manish Tiwari of opposition party Congress called terrorism a pure evil that must be rooted out worldwide. He said India is now working to build global consensus against nations that use terror as a tool of state policy. Tiwari added that India has also believed always in a peaceful neighborhood, but its patience cannot be mistaken for weakness, especially when innocent civilians are targeted. The community discussion was the first official engagement in a packed schedule ahead.
साउथ अफ्रीका में हम ANC के सेक्रेटरी जनरल और डिप्टी प्रेसिडेंट और शायद प्रेसिडेंट भी, इनकी जो पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी है ऑन फॉरेन अफेयर्स, बहुत से जो ओपिनियन मेकर्स हैं, लीडर्स हैं, मिनिस्टर्स हैं, उन पे कॉल ऑन कर रहे हैं. कल केप टाउन जा रहे हैं, परसों प्रिटोरिया में फंक्शंस हैं, टॉक्स हैं, डिस्कशंस हैं. तो हम चाहते हैं कि मतलब उम्मीद है कि बहुत अच्छा रहेगा. और साउथ अफ्रीका तो समझता है टेररिज्म को और हमेशा इंडिया के साथ खड़ा है.
So India isn't just confronting the horrors of Pahalgam, it is taking action, exposing perpetrators, and making sure the world listens. And moving on to the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia is ushering in a new era of strategic cooperation with Russia, strengthening ties across defense and economy. A high-level Ethiopian military delegation, led by the chief of the General Staff Field Marshal, Birhanu Jula Gelacha, held talks in Moscow with Russia's Deputy Defense Minister Alexander Fomin. Now, the talks signal growing military and strategic alignment between the two countries. Discussions centered on expanding military technical cooperation, implementing existing defense agreements, and addressing regional and global security challenges. Both sides agreed to strengthen military dialogue, enhance coordination, and to support stability initiatives across the region. Now, the meeting underscored Ethiopia's deepening strategic relationship with Russia. With growing alignment in military, political, and economic spheres, economically, Russia now allows Ethiopian banks to conduct transactions in rubles. a move aimed at reducing dependence on Western financial systems. Both nations are exploring local currency trade, signaling a push toward financial sovereignty. In February of this year, the Kremlin added Ethiopia, along with Nigeria and Tunisia, to its list of approved African countries whose banks may trade currencies inside Russia. This marks a major shift in Russia's Africa strategy and its pursuit of non-Western alliances. Also in February, Russia launched its first large-scale multifunctional media center in Africa, located in Ethiopia's capital Addis Ababa, as a part of a broader soft power push on the continent. In April, Ethiopia announced its plan to join the BRICS New Development Bank, or the NDB, becoming the fourth African nation after South Africa, Egypt and Nigeria to formally align with the BRICS financial platform. Ethiopia officially joined BRICS alongside Argentina, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, last year consolidating its position in the global south. Addis Ababa said that joining NDB is a national priority, reflecting its broader goal of fully integrating with the BRICS economic systems. Ethiopia's growing alignment with Russia marks a strategic shift in the Horn of Africa, with implications for regional stability, defense cooperation, and global power balance. As Addis Ababa deepens ties with Moscow and embraces the BRICS platform, the country is positioning itself as a key player in a new multipolar world order. And our last story today is on Zimbabwe, where a new law has left motorists fuming. President Emmerson Mnangagwa has approved a controversial radio license rule, and it has triggered an outcry across the country. Under the new law, you can't renew your car insurance or get a road license. You have to pay a radio license first. The fee? A hefty $92 every year. And why this rule? Now, this move is meant to fund the state broadcaster. It's called ZBC, or the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. ZBC has been losing money for years. Basically, it will boost revenue for the national body. That's the plan. But many say it's a tone-deaf decision in a country battling economic hardship. It's being seen as an added burden in already tough times. Zimbabwe's economy has been battered by sky-high inflation, widespread poverty, and debt accumulation over years. But Zimbabwe's government thinks otherwise. It says that the radio tax is fair and it's necessary. For perspective, we have some numbers. Now, there are about 1.2 million cars in Zimbabwe, but only 800,000 reportedly insured. And so, officials are hoping that this law will improve compliance and plug loopholes. So the radio license will now be a prerequisite for availing motor insurance. But there are exceptions. First, if you have a special exemption from the national broadcaster, or if your vehicle doesn't have a radio installed. ZBC heavily relies on license fees and government grants. And some of its revenue also comes from advertisements. But it's running at a loss. And so through this law, the Broadcasting Corporation is trying to earn more. But the question remains, why should ZBC be funded by straining the public? Critics have pointed out this poor content and pro-government bias. The opposition claims the ZBC favors the ruling party, which is called the ZANU-PF, or the Zimbabwean African National Union Patriotic Front. Now, Nelson Chamisa, the leading opposition figure, said that the new law is too draconian and outrightly heartless. He took to X and called out the government, saying that citizens are pauperized, left, right and center. And replying to his post, one user said, "It's naked provocation." Another comment in the same thread read, "It's an unjust assault on motorists." So clearly, Zimbabwe's government thinks its radios are in dire need of tuning. Meanwhile, the opposition says it's these rules and controversial laws that are out of frequency. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.